Okay,
All right.
cool. We okay. There we go. We are officially live now. Let's go. Um, okay, there we go. Cool. Um, did you want to start with introductions? I know you never made an appearance on my channel before.
Yeah, no, sure. I am Angel. I, well, I stream a lot of variety games. I am, a little, I am, oh, sorry. I, I'm non-binary. I am bisexual. I go by they, them pronouns, and I have a lot of things, and I am pretty chaotic sometimes, but I can also be some great other times.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you mainly stream Minecraft, right?
Mainly, but I do other games such as like Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, or some other games. I plan on doing a few indie games,
Nice.
and yeah.
Indie games are really fun to get into.
Hmm.
I've personally been trying to get more into some indie games.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, I haven't really much found any like big good indie game, but there's some pretty small ones that are good.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of diamonds in the rust. Or rough.
Yeah.
Is it rust or rough? I'm pretty sure it's rough. Um, but what's a game that you've like helped you get into gaming?
Well, the first game I ever started off with was on the Wii. Was I was at my cousin's and we were playing Smash Bros. The original Smash Bros. That came out on the Wii. And that was my official first gaming. And then it went from there. But I didn't really get into it, actually gaming, until I was a little bit older. I think, I want to say 12 is when I really started picking it up. I started watching videos. I was watching like Skut's Minecraft and um a lot of Minecraft, even some like other streamers like Shroud and you know those in Minecraft, those big streamers down now. And I got my first Xbox, and the first game I played on it was Minecraft. Then I went on to playing Rainbow Six Siege, which I still play till this day. I still have my Xbox, and it's still on there. And I play so many different games. It's become like my biggest part of me.
Yeah. Um, you kind of went down not like exactly similar route to me, but when I
Hmm.
was younger, I believe the first game I played was on the original Xbox. I don't remember the name of the game, but I know the exact few games I played after that. I started out by watching my dad play Call of Duty when I was younger, so got really into Call of Duty from a young age, and then I also played on the original Xbox. It was, I believe, it was a NBA 2K game. I could not tell you which one. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty old. That was back when I didn't even know. I couldn't even tell you like two teams from the NBA.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then like started like watching videos on like on YouTube. Rem- remember, I don't know if you remember when videos were like capped at what, 7 minutes? I think
Oh
that's what it
yeah.
was. Yeah, it was like there was video caps, so everyone and their mother was doing like 7 minute videos on YouTube and making multiple series. So I always loved watching like the zombies gameplay that was broken up into like 7 minute videos, and they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
fit as much information into like 7 minute tutorial guides for Black Ops One. That's the game
Yeah.
that, yeah, that's, I think Black Call of Duty Black Ops One is definitely the game that got me into gaming heavily. But there's like a lot like Ratchet and Clank, Crash Bandicoot, a lot of good get ones that I played along the way.
Yeah, those are like I want to say like the basic FPS games a lot of people enjoy, and then the older version is for more of our generation, whereas the younger 12-year old to 15-year-olds, they grew up with like Fortnite was their start.
Yeah, I think funny that you bring up Fortnite. I think that was like the thing that like helped me scratch my competitive itch in gaming, and then realize like, hey, this could be a possibility for me. Yeah, because I competed in Fortnite for about a year and a half, and then the game stopped being fun and just dropped it.
Yeah, I can see like I was also in the early days of Fortnite. But then after a certain bit, there was started to get generate the classic, toxic community of like everybody hates everybody. Unless if you're not good, you don't shouldn't play the game. It's just it became no longer fun because of how many toxic sweats there were. It went from building small one by ones to building entire Eiffel Towers.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of time where like people tried the hardest, and I think that's another reason why battle royale games in general have been good yet harmful to gaming,
Hmm.
is they they're helping like expand the esports scene, but basically destroying the casual scene as it goes along.
Yeah, I just have to say that like I tweeted earlier, I think it was either today or yesterday, on I won't remember, but it might have been a TikTok comment I made. But it was on Mariska Jade's one of her posts. She said something about how she had someone in her Valorant game tell her to, well, basically leave this planet, you know, the
Okay,
bad
yeah,
way.
yeah, I pick up what
Yeah.
you're saying.
And I said like it's really bad the way that is basically the norm of when you go into gaming. They're like, oh yeah, you're gonna expect this. Like, it's normal.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be the normal. Like, that shouldn't be like, oh yeah, expect this. It should be something like, this is going to happen. It is not right. And we should get rid of it. It's not like, okay, this is gonna happen. You can either ignore it or you can join it.
yeah, and I like how most of the rebuttals is like, oh, you wouldn't survive like um OG Call of Duty lobbies or OG like CS:GO or Overwatch lobbies because you're soft. I just find that funny because most of this wasn't um most of this is not just people being soft, it's just the way that culture has expanded and how there's way more like I don't know how to explain it. It's like we're trying to become a lot more inclusive to a lot of people because there has been so much struggles over the years, but it's just people aren't willing to change.
Yeah, I want to say like the biggest right now, the one of the biggest examples of somebody doing great in that area of being starting to become inclusive is Valorant.
Hmm.
Recent games, like they've added their anti-cheat. They had the reporting system is one of the best I've seen because I've reported many people for saying certain words, and I always get that they're banned immediately afterwards. And they have been very inclusive. Like they put out every June, they will put out the free Pride banners. They have donated a lot of money to certain charities. Like they want other example that other games should be when it comes to being inclusive and building a safe and open environment for gaming.
Yeah,
Because for a lot of people, I want to say is like gaming is the thing that you are their escape. It's their biggest escape from like a really bad day during school or work. Maybe they got bullied, and this is their escape. For me, that was my escape from school because I was bullied, even though I didn't know. I thought it was just part of what it is. But I now have come to realize that I was being bullied during my school years, and gaming was my escape. You don't
yeah,
want to go into gaming and get bullied there as well.
yeah. I think for a lot of people, that's actually how they got into games in the first place. Is just they realize that, hey, this is like you're playing like you're living a basically a different life compared to what you're dealing with, and I think that's why a lot of people understand and appreciate like Twitch and YouTube because of just outside for a lot of people outside um not outside not outside but like day-to-day life for them is just it's hard on them and this is their escape. This is like why people like watching YouTube videos, why people like listening to podcasts maybe, why people like watching TV, why people like playing games. It's just this is their chance to maybe just relax and not have to deal with the stresses to day-to-day life or to like escape from like i.e. like you said bullying or racism or stuff like that.
And they do it like keeping on the topic of like gaming and having an escape. Like many people are still suffer with mental health even as old as 60 years old. Um, I myself, I've done a lot of volunteer EMT. I'm going back very soon, and I have to say, mental health it's a very under well under like not underappreciated, but what's the word? It's not brought into the spotlight as much. It is now as much more now than it is like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10 years ago, in for example, in gaming, like being toxic and all that, that was like the staple 10 years ago. And like that was how it was basically in gaming. And that was the stigma and everything. And now that's changed. But I've noticed that one thing really that hasn't changed as much, such as changing the stigma of bullying and toxicity in gaming, is the awareness of mental health. It's really big, especially with Twitch and their partner program. Not many people know a lot about how the Twitch partner program works. There has been a lot of recent lights about it, and especially how like Ludwig and Valkyrie they've moved to YouTube because Twitch demands a lot from their contracted streamers. They demand very tedious, like many hours, which they can't do because not just streaming, they have like their YouTubes, they have their companies. For example, like Pokimane is a creative director on a clothing line, has her YouTube. She's the co-founder of Offline TV. She has other things to do, and she can't just do over 700 hours of streaming a month. And it takes a toll on their mental health because they're asking so much of these creators on Twitch that they don't have time to focus on themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not only just with partner streamers either, I want to say. Like, even just for small streamers like you and I,
Mm-hmm.
we look at streaming and we're like, we want it to become what the others are, what the big people are, like Pokimane, Ludwig, like, that's what we want. Uh, we have many other obligations as well. And which is like when we see that we're getting like 1 or 2 viewers and it's not like doing what the way we want it to, it makes us feel down. And it's not like we're already suffering probably from depression as well. It makes it a bit worse not knowing that even if we're putting in the hard work, we might not be getting the attention rate we want.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying, live streaming in general has been notoriously horrendous for being a good way to grow platforms, and they haven't made it easier over the years, except for um when Twitch very, very, very briefly had that. Uh, I don't know if you ever got to see it happen, but um, I unlocked it for like a day, and then they immediately got rid of it. It was called channel boosting, where you could have people pay to have your channel be featured on the front page Twitch. You remember
Yeah,
what
I
that
saw
is?
that on Twitter when that happened.
Yeah.
I want to say like that is again, even though you may not think about it, but it's privilege. It's a lot of privilege. Not everybody has that.
Yeah.
Like to pay the money, not even like we're our generation. We're like, yeah, that's cool, great, streaming, we like it. But the older generations, such as Gen X and not Gen Boomers, they don't see that as like something to do. They think that's bad and we shouldn't do it still, even though it's still 2022. They still have that stigma that it's bad for us, it's horrible, it's gonna make us bad and not actually get well in life. Like, they think we're just pouring everything into gaming, whereas obviously some of us might be, and that's a bad thing, obviously, but not everybody is doing it. And some people who have privilege and have the money to be able to put themselves on the front page, they can, and now mostly the majority, the white folks, the people who have the money, which are probably big partner streamers, and probably some companies like I know Amazon, which owns Twitch, they put their stuff on the front page a lot, and any partners and partners of the company, they get put right on the front page too, because they help the company. And then it's again privilege. You're if you have the money with that program, even though it lasted one day, because clearly they saw how the privilege was showing, where they were getting just for that one day. I went on into it, and there was just so many streamers there, and like only one streamer I saw was a minority. The rest were your pretty basic majority, which would be mostly white person with streamers, mostly male too. I saw like only 2 females on that page.
Yeah. No,
It's
yeah, it's kind of crazy um the way how things have panned out uh with Twitch and YouTube in general, and it's made it a very hard place to grow if you are just like for women it's really hard because um it's really hard because there's a lot of like harassment that's been going around. I'm pretty sure if you were a streamer last year, you know of the infamous hoss raids and hate raids that were going down, and probably have seen it in the chats. I got raided once with
mm,
that and had to literally stop my stream for like half an hour to fucking ban all of them, which was very unpleasant.
yeah. I'm on for 9 people now. Um, throughout my first moderating was a hate raid. I was on my phone watching my friend Finorino. She was streaming, and this was like late, like around this time last year, almost. And I was on my phone. I was the only person in chat, and I was a friend of Finn. So when the follow bots started coming in, I was like, "Uh oh!" And Finn just immediately said, you know how to do this. Go ahead." You and modded me immediately. I took care of it. It was pretty simple, but that was the start of it, and it's still going. It's not, even though it's not as often, it still happens. Um,
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's people who have made bots like Commander Root, and I've seen a few other bots. I don't remember their names, but they were created to help combat them, which is great. That's the other side of the community, is we have started seeing a lot more other people rise up and assist more minorities and LGBTQ, colored, even like one community in particular, which is not even like a minority, like a color person or LGBTQ or woman. It's just the furry community. They've also been targeted just because they're the furries. And I get it. Like, it may seem weird to some people, but just because it's weird to you doesn't mean you should go out of your way to go and hate that person because they're enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, well, for those of you on Twitch, I can tell you what the basic thing to do when you get either hate rated or follow botted is turn on emote only mode, and possibly if you wanted subscriber only, and put on a 3 minute ad, mark down the time it started, and then about maybe 10 or 15 minutes when you feel like you've gotten rid of the haters or bots, you can go back to your normal, because A, you make money off of these followers, bots, or raiders, and B, you don't have to like end your stream, which is what they want you to do. You just continue on, let your mods know, the mods will take care of it, and if they're not around, just keep emote only, keep going. You mark down the time, you can have Commander Root do it after stream.
Yes. Um,
Um, Go ahead.
let's talk for the people who haven't like accessed that yet. So like we're talking to my unaffiliated folk out there.
Yeah.
Um, with that, I would suggest actually, I would say, go out there and just not read chat or close your chat in general because of course you don't want to do that since that's another bad way for people to click off your stream. Even though if
Mm-hmm.
you are getting hate rated, most likely there are going to be people clicking off your stream no matter what, and then that's just the sad and unfortunate truth about everything. But for my unpartnered, I mean unaffiliated folk, I would just recommend take that time. If you have someone you like really trust in chat, go ahead, mod them, have them help you deal with it. But you're just gonna have to probably say, "Hey, I'm gonna have to react Andy for a little bit," and then put on like a YouTube video that you can react to while also dealing with like all the follow bots and all that. Because I know there's a lot of people who still haven't hit that. Maybe it's the 50 follower threshold. Maybe it's the streaming enough days threshold. Maybe it's the viewer
Yeah.
count threshold. But there, there's a
I
lot.
mean, it's like, yeah, it is a lot. It's like, again, same with the gaming community and like just in general, having that toxicity. It's like almost the norm for church in general, but it still has to be phased out because that's still a thing. Like, for example, the recent Jason R event, where
Yes.
that was huge. I'm still catching up on it. I've read a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for those of you who don't know, Jason R is a Valorant streamer on Twitch, and he's infamous for not, whenever he hears a woman or can tell that there's a woman in his game, he would dodge, aka leave the game, before he can play with that person. His excuse was like the worst excuse ever, which was that he wants to do it out of respect for his wife, which again, it was a horrible excuse. And then when he was chatting with and arguing with another streamer about this, who he called him an L friend, and he just said really misogynist things during that.
Yeah. I-
And you could see his chat was like saying, "Yeah, go ahead, yeah, do that." Tell them that. It was like that. He's a partner stream.
yeah.
He's showing doing this in public. He's a role model to people, and when they see him do it, they're like, "Oh, okay, I guess I can do it now since he's doing it."
Yes. Um. to be honest, at that point, I if I were Valorant at that point, you have to like step up, and if you are seeing that clip circulate, you basically would want to give him uh at least a suspension from the game and all Riot games. I think Twitch would have to give him some sort of a, you know, a ban. I don't know if you know this YouTuber. His name's Jadeon. Uh,
Yes.
he he got in trouble for um saying misogynistic things. Personally, I don't think he's misogynistic. I think he just came off as misogynistic.
Yeah.
Um, because you could, if you watch the videos in his live streams and just the way he acts, he se- he seems like he's a good guy, because this guy could never, he doesn't like drama per se. He doesn't like, you know, having beef with someone. And he doesn't care if the beef will help him grow. It's just not his type of deal. Um he's he got in trouble for saying misogynistic things to um Pokimane, and of course got banned for that. And another part of it was he, I don't know if he intentionally or unintentionally was doing a hate raid, but I'm pretty sure he thought it would just be funny if they spammed L plus ratio in her chat, which
Yeah, that was intentional. Like it was a joke intentional, but not like.
not like coming from actual hate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I get that. Um, his fan base, didn't help his case there too, because they were whispering shit to everyone. But and I think that's honestly something that needs to fucking go from Twitch. Like, whispering is just so unnecessary thing to have on Twitch, especially because when you hear something about whispering, it's usually a negative thing. But I guess Twitch wanted a DMing service on their website, which again is useless since it's a chat-based website, and about like 9.5 out of 10 people are gonna mainly use that chat-based system over the whispering system. So personally, I just think it needs to be gone.
Yeah, I have to say, as a moderator, it's really hard to tell with the whispering system that if someone had said something to a chatter, like another chatter can come to me and say, "This person did this," and whispered it to me, but then that chatter can come to me and say, "They're lying. They're trying to make me look bad," and then it turns into he said, she said, or they said, they said. It just
Yeah.
turns into what that is, and you don't know what to do.
Yeah. Um, Personally, like, it feels like kind of fucked up to ask people, "Hey, can you provide a screenshot of what happened?" Because you kind of are asking for, like, "Hey, are you lying to me about this person or not? Like, what's going on?" And most
Mm-hmm.
people, or even some people, don't know how to like screenshot that shit. Um, but usually with the very few cases, luckily, I have to deal with, I've successfully have to I successfully had to screenshot proof to a moderator to get that person banned. But
Yeah.
it's just like, it's unfortunate what with the
Yeah.
way, you know DMs in general have been, they're useful. That's how I actually got you on the podcast, is through DM. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how like most people schedule things. Like I use DMs every day to uh schedule like scrims and tournaments and just to talk to my friends after a stream. I'm like, "Hey, thanks for streaming today. You did a good job." Like stuff like that. It's like you mainly want to see positivity, but what the downside is it's a double-edged sword because you're going to see a lot of negativity come through DMs and unwanted. um I think you can finish that sentence in your head coming through.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say like there was a time before there's a big streamer. Before she was big, I was one of her like founders um subscribers, and I was in her chat for a while. There was a small group of us and all that. I want to say like just then, like when we were so small, she's a big partnered streamer now, um, and all that. She's amazing. Her name is Slayers. But one thing that we were talking about early on, when she was still a small streamer, um, me, her, and a couple of others were doing a small podcast on her stream for a little bit. And during that session, she got a very bad DM. It was her mother was in the other room, because her mother's very supportive of her, which is nice. Rarely happens from again boomers and Gen X, but she ended her stream and ran to her mother crying because of how disgusting and very hateful that message was. We're told like when things like that happen is it's ignore it and move on. But really, it does leave a lasting impact. Even though we do may ignore it, it still sticks with us.
Yeah. And that's a thing where I don't know Twitch Twitch should like have a system where it shouldn't be possible, but yet again, it's a lot of it is dealing with, you know, how do we censor the internet without censoring the internet?
Yeah. And that's like that point right there, it's really good because like especially just recently, Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Yeah.
And I follow Elon Musk just because I find his memes a little funny, but I don't find his views great and stuff. I like great for him for wanting to put people on the moon and all that.
Yeah.
Um, but he said he when he bought Twitter, his one big thing was that anybody should be able to say anything, and even with like, censorship it's one of the yeah it's pretty bad when it comes, especially with Twitter. Twitter is notorious for arguments, especially same with Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, but with this recent thing with Elon Musk buying Twitter and saying that he's gonna just allow anybody to say anything, it takes away that part of inclusiveness and the censorship. But then again, that's speculation of what would happen because still Elon Musk still has to answer to the board of directors.
Yeah. Even though it's like a little percentage, he still has to factor in what they have to think in mind. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but let's switch over from the topic of mental health and minorities on Twitch and switch over back to that original topic that not that original topic, but that topic that we touched on for a very slight moment, which is esports, because I know you wanted to talk about it, and when you DM me esports, I'm like, oh, something that I know a lot about since I've been around that area for a couple of years now, and I have a lot of friends that have been around that area for a couple of years now. Um, what's like an esport that you enjoy watching?
Um, Me, I personally enjoy the Rainbow Six Siege esports. I am very involved in it. Last when their biggest um event was the Six Invitational, I was did a stream analyzing how the teams would do, how their roster has gone, and how what I thought would win. And it was very similar to how somebody would go about doing the March Madness bracket. Um, I support the Team Liquid. I have their chair. I'm sitting in it. I'm sitting
Oh,
in their secret lab chair, and I have my jacket from Team Liquid. I very much love Team Liquid.
that's actually funny you say because Team Liquid is one of my favorite esports organizations ever. Also,
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually the first org that I like consistently started watching. Again, it was through Fortnite. Uh, but then I got into more of like watching Valorant and Apex and watching Team Liquid's team. I've recently got into watching Cloud9. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Cloud9's really fun to watch. For Apex, I'm a big. I don't know if most people know this, but I am a big Apex guy. I just have like I only have like 1,600 hours in that game.
Wow.
But, you know, Apex is like a game that I really enjoy. It's but I could switch to any other um if I could switch to any other esport, it would easily be Valorant.
Yeah.
I think that's what most Apex pros would actually switch to though, is Valorant.
Oh.
But the first esport I ever watched was Counter Strike. I don't know about you.
Mm. Yeah, I started watching the Rainbow Six Invitational, and I don't know. I've now watched like the PUBG. I've watched definitely Valorant and CS:GO. Even the biggest one, League of Legends. They recently had their spring split, which Team Liquid came in third for
Yeah,
after a lower bracket run. I was at work listening to it, and I was very upset with the turnout. But there's a big thing with esports too. Even though there's this stigma like, hey, it's not a sport, people say that, but again,
who gives
it's
a
up to
fuck?
you.
I'm like, dude, esports is as much of a sport as NASCAR racing, so
Yeah, like golfing, how much it's about the same amount of exercise golfing as much as you are playing a video game. Like,
I'm like,
I don't see why people argue it's not a sport. If you're gonna say golf is a sport, it's
yeah.
there's still a lot of stigmas around esports.
Well, it falls into that trap. Oh, it's new. Let's hate it. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to say like it's getting big.
Yeah.
Esports is becoming big. Like
I think ever since the
I
Fortnite World Cup, it actually helped esports actually get recognized as somewhat of
yeah
a like a sport.
yeah I want to say like the definitely the Fortnite World Cup really helped it, but I also want to say like the most recent years of the League of Legends World Cups
Yes.
has become a lot bigger than it was before. They're renting out like the big NRG like football stadiums for these things, and it's like almost a football like the Super Bowl, but for esports. Like you have big artists come in to sing the opening. Like you have a big halftime with maybe an artist or some sort of celebrity doing something.
Yeah.
And I think that it's getting a lot more recognized since that $1 million Fortnite. Where many people like, what? People can win that much money?
It was 3 million.
It was 3 million? Wow.
Yeah. And I think the biggest tournament before then was I think it was like $150,000 LCS that happened like 3 months before. I could be wrong, but
I think.
I think Riot, well, Riot puts a lot more of their money into the production value of things,
Hmm.
and I think Riot, if there was any esports to watch, I think it would be any esport by Riot, so either Valorant or League of Legends, because their production value and is just so extremely high.
Yeah, I want to say definitely um Riot has put a lot into their production, even though they aren't the best company, especially since their recent misogyny and sexist workplace, even though that has been disputed and it's getting better now. They're still a great company and they put a lot into what they're passionate about,
Hmm.
especially like their recent Arcane TV show,
Yes.
and that was amazing.
Yes, that's actually the reason why I installed League of Legends and fell into the trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first game of League of Legends ever, I immediately got called dog shit. So that was fun.
Yep.
I'm like, hey, this reminds me of Valorant. uh,
Yeah, I gotta say that. Definitely League of Legends, Valorant. I want to say the four biggest act. No, sorry, not the four. The top five biggest esports is Valorant, League of Legends, CS:GO, Rainbow Six, and um the Dota championships.
yeah, it's actually
Many
crazy how.
people know about Dota, but it's like I was in Seattle the for a family trip the day that a huge Dota championship was happening, and they were back then. This was like 2017. Still, back then they were pretty big.
Yeah, Dota's still hanging in there. I'm surprised, especially with how big League is now.
Hmm.
Dota's Dota's still kicking ass. Dota 2 is like really
Yeah,
big in other countries though. Not, I wouldn't say
that's
as big
true.
as in America as League is, but definitely in, you know, I'm pretty sure it's bigger in Asian countries than it is in
Hmm.
American or Western
Yeah, that's
countries.
another thing with like being the different regions. It's a lot, especially like there are certain regions in certain games that are notorious for being toxic, and then there's certain regions that are notorious for being like really um great. And that's again same with like actual sports. I live in Philadelphia, if you talk to any sports fan here, we're really toxic.
Oh yeah, you got
Like,
Philly Philly fan base are some uh,
yeah, it's like
toxic
I
people.
think the most recent thing happened was like yesterday during the Sixers game. Someone threw a cup at Ben Simmons, I think. I am not sure what happened. But
Yeah.
it's a staple now, I guess. If you say esports is not a sport, we literally have everything but the being active.
Yeah. Um, I know Yankee fans, so New York. So shout out New York.
Mhm.
Are not the nicest of fans either.
Yeah.
Actually, New York teams are just fucking brutal.
Mm.
New York and Philly have some pretty rough fan bases for their players because if you're slumping, they'll let you know. And they won't let you
Yeah.
know in a nice way. But that's the same thing with like esports because if your team is doing bad in esports, they'll fucking actually it's with any team. Uh, a big one that I can think of is again with the Apex team, the Apex area where TSM went a while went like through a 6 month span where they didn't win any major tournament and they just got roasted and saying pretty like rude stuff. And then they finally won. I think it was like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. They pretty much shut them up for the little while.
Mm. Yeah, that's actually similar to like in Rainbow Six Siege. There, there was a super team for a couple of years, which is G2. They had like Pengu, Fabian, and a few others. But now Pengu is retired and is a content creator for Dark Zero. Fabian is G2's coach, and the rest of the old roster of the super team have left. And now in the entire G2 roster is horrible. They don't remember the last time they have won a actual major since Pengu left.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm starting to see the same two trends happen with 100 Thieves and Sentinels regarding Valorant,
Yeah.
which Sentinels became the only Valorant team to go without a map drop in a tournament. I'm pretty sure in a major tournament at least in
Mm-hmm.
Valorant history, which I know it's only been out for like 3 years, but that's still fucking impressive to not lose a
Yes.
map in a tournament and playing. They played so many freaking games and they didn't lose a map, which was just
Mm-hmm.
insane. I think I'm pretty sure looking back at it, Valorant broke 500,000 plus viewers in that tournament.
Yeah.
Could be wrong, but I know I was definitely watching. I'm
Same.
like, I was watching Sentinels play whoever, and I was watching version 1 play whoever. I even watched the Crazy Raccoons game.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm like, if there was a game in that tournament, I'm willing to watch it. But I did watch every single Sentinels match though, because of course they're the winning team. You kind of want to see how they won.
Yeah. I mean, like, for me, even though I was like, yeah, cool, Sentinels are really cool, but I was like, still, again, with Team Liquid, um, and I want to say, like, back again with the having the star players, recently, the biggest controversy in Rainbow Six happened after the, um, the Six Major, the biggest one for Rainbow Six. The second place team, Team Empire, dropped their entire roster the second after they lost the championship. And I have no idea why they did that. There's rumors of like the players wanted to play together, but they didn't want to play with their new coach. Like, it was a huge deal, and it still is.
Oh, yeah. I have recent memory of this happening is actually I can think of two examples. It's not a whole roster, but with Apex C9 like 6 months ago dropped one of their players after playing second in ALGS, a playoff game series, which is, you know, not a lot of people play second. There's only one team that can play second, and there, and then they switched. They dropped him and went with a new guy. And even though I loved the guy that they picked up, um, they're they're kind of like sporadic. But and then the other memory is, of course, 100 Thieves. They got 12 voted on the map and immediately dropped two of their players.
Yeah. 100 Thieves is like all over the place. They're still a young organization compared to TSM and C9. Like, those guys have been up for a while. TSM, I think, is crossing their 5 year soon. Like, they're not that old.
Yeah,
100 Thieves is.
they were around for like a year before Fortnite, like esports came out, right?
Yeah, and back then they were still in challenger leagues, like the B tier teams. They were like playing with those guys back then.
Yeah.
And this is like the only, I think, third time in the third year in the big leagues.
Mhm.
And I'm surprised they're like making it big. Like they're doing well for such a team. I want to say like I could compare them to the current Cleveland Browns for the NFL. Like for a while, the Cleveland Browns were really horrible. They were like, oh no, whenever you played the Cleveland Browns, you were like, my team is going to win because the Cleveland Browns never won.
Yeah.
And now they were like, they made playoffs for the NFL because they kept building their team over time. And Nashot, one, I was listening to a podcast about it. Nashot said that's it's exactly what he was doing. He was slowly building his team over time instead of immediately getting these big names once and
In
then
recent
they
history,
would drop
that's
off.
kind of what he switched to, is getting big
Mm-hmm.
names. Uh, I know with Apex, I still don't understand what 100 Thieves was thinking. They picked up a team that won uh the ALGS, and don't get me wrong, they're a good team, but I don't think they're a team that fits with 100 Thieves at all. But you know, they are the what I see 100 Thieves turning into is kind of what um in sports is like the Dodgers or the Yankees or
Yeah,
the Brooklyn Nets. Like they're getting so much firepower, but they're not really, beside the Dodgers, really getting that success out of it.
they're not getting the full potential of that
Yeah.
player.
Not of that player, just the
Yeah,
whole team, to be honest.
yeah, and I want to say like that could be possibly maybe the chemistry of that team, or they're like not clicking. They're they're just different pieces, and you want to put the wrong pieces in same puzzle.
Yeah. That could be it. Um, is there any other top? I know I asked you in the beginning, but are you sure
Hmm.
if there's any other topics you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we talked really mostly about the mental health and toxicity and all that, but
And
one
then,
thing I really want to say is like, um, especially in esports, it's getting there. Valorant is doing is one of the examples, but there aren't that many women in gaming in esports.
yeah,
Um, Overwatch is one that has a few, but not like a lot. Valorant has an entire different league called the Game Changers. Those are all female teams that play against each other, but again, they don't mix.
yeah, it's kind of like esports right now. It's kind of like the NBA and the WNBA. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
perfect example of esports in a nutshell right now. Is a lot of them have
Yeah.
leagues for women. It's just they don't get the recognition per se. Um, because right now, for I think I know I'm bringing up Apex a lot, but for Apex, a lot of women don't like get viewed as really cracked or nutty players, right? Um, but yet again, the there is a difference between uh a statistic which is the highest damage ever done by a male in an Apex game is around 10,000 damage, and for women it just hit over 7,000 damage, which
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but um I get like there's a difference there and it's by 3,000 damage, which for some players is a lot of damage to do in a game. Um but yet again, there are insanely talented women in the gaming space. Like a couple that can come to mind is streamers like um Baby Nick Baby Nikki is a good one in the Apex community. I'm trying to think. Hey Girl is another one in the Apex community that is a pretty
Mm-hmm.
good Apex player. I don't know if you have. I'm. It is kind of sad that I can only think of two right now because yet again, um, as much as I want to like spend time, I'm mainly watching the major events. So I'm watching like
Yeah.
ALGS and stuff. So, but
Yeah, I mean, for me,
there
there's
are a
a
ton.
few.
Yeah, there are a few, and there's probably a lot that I follow on Twitch right now and just haven't really gotten around to even watching or
Mm-hmm.
even seeing what they can do because a lot of the uh main streams are going to be of what is it, of like predominantly male streamers playing or male professionals playing in these big tournaments.
Yeah. I mean, that would change at some point, but I still think there's a long way to go between that. And it's even though, like, for example, YouTube, their CEOs are women, but yet their most of their big names are male. It's still a little upsetting to see. Um, and then there's just it's harder for people say it's like easy for women to like that's the excuse. It's easy for women to get views and all that. It's not. It really isn't. Like
I think
there's
so.
not a lot.
So yeah, with that debate, um, my views on it is right now the way it's structured is women have a pretty high floor, but also a pretty low ceiling when it comes to algorithmic
Yeah.
things and not even just algorithmic things, it's just like fan bases in general because as soon it's basically because people some like there are like maybe a good percent of them that are there for like the actual person, but there are just some people there for that streamer's looks and stuff, and they're well if they see like, oh, I think this woman's cuter than the other woman, so I'm just gonna start watching her from now on. You know, that's where high, that high floor, but also low ceiling comes in because there's not very loyal fans when it comes to female streamers, which is very unfortunate because there are a lot of good ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like most people, when you think of like female streamers, you think of Amarith or Pokimane. Like Pokimane is a great one. Amarith, there is if you about her, like she is a great person overall, but the way she has done her streams and everything, it makes other people, the viewers, see that like, oh, this is what you need to do, or this is what females and female presenting people should be doing. And then they take that, and then again, they go out and be like, you need to do this. But that person just wants to play games.
Yeah. It's kind of, yeah, it's just kind of weird because there's a lot of women who are just getting pigeonholed into like just chatting section, which it's kind of unfortunate. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of cool now with like VTubers how there there are some women who are blowing up right now. I.e.,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who Iron Mouse is,
Mm-hmm.
but she recently broke the most sub to female streamer in well all of Twitch, which
That's
I think
nice.
yeah, which I think was close to like 275,000 concurrent subs,
Wow.
which is a fuck ton. And she broke that
Yeah.
during like a Lugwood esque stepathon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that reminds me of something that Ludwig has once said on his YouTube channel Mogul Mail, which is like a news channel which I watch instead of Keemstar. He said like even the top 10% of Twitch streamers, there is not there was like only one or two females in the top 10% of Twitch streamers, and then like you wouldn't get like a good like maybe 5 or more% female to male ratio and until you reached like the top 250 of Twitch streamers before you got that 5% of those are female.
Yeah. Um, I just realized that we've actually hit the 1 hour 10 minute mark. So I don't want to hold you here too long, and I do not want to make editor son, aka myself, like hate
Yeah.
life when trying to cut this down. But um, but is there any like closing remarks you had?
um, really, I would want to say like it's some pretty heavy topics in this. Like we've spoken a lot about different things like mental health, suicide, it, misogyny, sexism, like all of that. But if you're really passionate about something, don't let it stop you. Like, again, even though I'm saying it, it's going to happen. It's upsetting that it's happening. But if you put your heart and soul into it, you can do things that can change this.
Hmm.
That's about all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Again, let's. I'm gonna shout you out. Your link for your Twitch will be in the description, as long as, I mean, not for the VOD, but
Hmm.
for the, the podcast edited version.
Yeah.
It will be down in the description. Um, as long as well as your Twitter. But if you want to verbally, you know, shout out yourself again.
Yeah, I go on AngelLive3 on Twitch, almost basically any handle. I'll be on Twitch, I'll be on Twitter, and I occasionally post some TikToks on the same handle. It's not I don't have many right now, but I hope to do some more edits later. Um Come watch me. I do a bunch of fun stuff with friends and it's pretty much chaotic there, but it's really fun and thank you again for having me and I hope you all really have a great day.
Yeah, thank you again for joining. I know it's kind of late for you. You're 3 hours ahead, and then currently what, midnight or
Oh,
midnight, leading
yeah, I
almost
don't
to one
usually go
o'clock.
to bed till 2, so.
Again, thank you for coming on. And I was really excited that you responded to my tweet to say, "Hey, I'm reviving my podcast and would like to join."
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I I hopefully will have you back on eventually.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
I would
know.
love to.
I do not know what when, and there's actually a lot of topics that hopefully we can get to next time.
Hmm. Yeah, well,
But
thank you for having me.
well, thank you for giving, coming on and talking to me and for like an hour 15 minutes. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but what's weird is I always feel bad at the end of the podcast. I'm like, oh, I just ate up an hour of your time. But again,
Oh, it
thank
was
you.
an enjoyable time, so.
All right, but thank you again. Um, I don't know when for all my YouTube like listeners who are going to be watching after, or people who are listening to me on audio only formats. to- Right now, I don't know exactly when the edited version of this podcast will be out. Hopefully, it'll be out before the end of the year, because I'm still sitting on three other podcasts that no, four other podcasts I've recorded already and have not posted. And yeah, I finished recording those podcasts in August, by the way. So I'll I'll finish those. I'll catch up on those. Everything will be going up on this new channel, Simply Scott, very soon. Again, please give Angel Live 3 a watch if you're very interested in Minecraft. Great personality, and very enjoyable person to talk to. So please just show up to the stream and maybe say hi to them. Um, but next time we'll have Chaos Monster here. So
Ooh.
uh, that won't uh that one will not be happening live, by the way. It'll be recording only. So, thank you again, and thank you for anyone who was in chat for watching. I know, I mainly stream on Twitch, and putting in a stream key is something apparently very difficult for me to do because I'm so used to Twitch just automatically doing it for me. But again, thank you for everyone who showed up, and thank you, Angel, for your time.
Thank you.